The palace of the Jacoran Empire was silent, not the peaceful kind of silence. This silence was heavy. It pressed down on everyone inside the great hall like an unseen weight. Tall crystal pillars rose toward the glowing ceiling. Alien guards stood in two perfect lines, holding long energy spears. Their eyes never moved. Their armor reflected cold blue light. At the center of the hall stood a human man. His hands were not tied, but he knew that did not matter. If the queen wished it, he would not leave this place alive. His name was Ethan. He wore simple human clothes, worn from travel. He looked small in the vast hall, surrounded by creatures taller, stronger, and far more powerful than him. Many of them looked at him with open hatred, others with curiosity, some with fear. Humans were rare here. Humans were weak. Humans did not belong in royal palaces. At the far end of the hall, on a raised platform, sat the alien queen, Queen Velira. Her throne was carved from living crystal, slowly glowing with a soft purple light. She sat perfectly still, her long silver robes flowing like liquid metal. Her eyes, bright and sharp, were fixed on the human. She did not speak. That silence was worse than shouting. Ethan kept his head straight. He did not bow too low. He did not look away either. He had learned long ago that fear could smell blood. A council guard stepped forward. "Human Ethan," the guard said, his voice echoing. "You have been summoned before the Queen of Jacoran. Speak only when allowed." Ethan nodded once. "Yes." The queen's fingers tightened slightly on the arm of her throne. "Human," she said at last. Her voice was calm, but it carried power. "Do you know why you are here?" Ethan swallowed. "No, Your Majesty." A low murmur spread through the hall. Many expected lies, begging, excuses. The queen studied him. "You entered restricted space," she continued. "You were found near the inner city. That alone is punishable by death." Ethan did not argue. "I was looking for work," he said simply. "I didn't know where I was." More whispers. Some guard scoffed. A human wandering into the most protected city in the empire? Impossible. The queen raised a hand. Silence returned instantly. "You claim ignorance," she said. "Yet my guards say you showed no fear when arrested." Ethan hesitated, then spoke honestly. "I was afraid," he said. "I just didn't think showing it would help." For a moment, something unreadable passed through the queen's eyes. Before she could respond, a small sound echoed through the hall. Soft, fast, tiny footsteps. Everyone turned. From behind one of the pillars, a child appeared. She was small compared to the others. Her skin shimmered with soft light, her eyes large and bright. She wore a simple royal garment, clearly not meant for ceremony. "Princess," a guard whispered in alarm. The queen's posture changed instantly. "Stop," she commanded, standing halfway from her throne. But the child did not listen. She looked across the hall, and her eyes locked onto Ethan. Her face lit up. Before anyone could react, she ran. Guards stepped forward in panic. Spears lowered. Orders were shouted. "Protect the princess." But it was too late. The child reached Ethan and threw her arms around his waist with all her strength. "Dad!" she shouted. The word exploded through the hole like a weapon. Time stopped. Guards froze mid-step. Spears trembled in their hands. Council members stared in disbelief. Ethan's body locked in shock. "What?" he whispered. The child pressed a face into his chest, holding him tightly, as if afraid he would disappear. "I found you," she said happily. "I knew you would come back." The queen's face went completely pale. Her breath caught. "No," she whispered, barely audible. A high commander drew his weapon. "Step away from the princess. Human." Ethan slowly raised his hands, panic flooding his chest. "I swear, I don't know." But the child tightened her grip. "No, don't take him," she cried. "He stayed with me. He didn't leave." That sentence hit the queen harder than any blade. The hall erupted in chaos. How does a child know him? Impossible. Humans cannot. The queen raised her voice, sharp and commanding. "Stop." Instant silence. She descended from the throne, each step slow and heavy. Her eyes never left Ethan. She stood before him, towering, powerful, and shaken. The child looked up at her. "Mother," she said innocently, "this is Dad." The word echoed again. The Queen's hands trembled. Ethan looked at the Queen, confusion and fear mixing in his eyes. "Your Majesty," he said quietly, "I have never claimed a child. I don't understand what is happening." The Queen searched his face. She saw no lies, only shock, and something else. Recognition. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "It cannot be." But deep inside, she already knew, because years ago, in a time of fire and war, there had been a human who stayed. And now, that past had just hugged him in front of the entire empire. The great hall remained silent. No one moved. No one breathed too loudly. The child was still holding the human, her small arms locked around his waist. She rested her head against his chest, calm and safe, as if this was the most natural place in the galaxy. Ethan stood stiff, afraid to move even a finger. The Queen stared at them. Her heart was racing. "Guards," Queen Valera said slowly, her voice controlled but tight. "Lower your weapons." The guard hesitated. "I said," she repeated, louder now, "lower them." One by one, the energy spears lowered, but their eyes stayed sharp. "Ready." The Queen stepped closer. She knelt in front of the child, lowering herself to her level. "Lyra," she said softly, "look at me." The child looked up, smiling. "I found him, Mother." The Queen swallowed. "You should not run into the hole like that." "But he was here," Lyra said simply. "I remembered his face." That sentence cut deep. The Queen stood slowly and turned to the council. "Clear the hall," she ordered. "Everyone except the guards of my choosing." Murmurs rose again. "This concerns the Empire," a council member began. "This concerns my child," the Queen snapped. No one argued further. Within minutes, the great hall was empty. Only the Queen, Ethan, the child, and a few trusted guards remained. The doors sealed shut. Silence returned, but this time, it was different. The Queen looked at Ethan, really looked at him. "You," she said quietly, "what do you remember about a battlefield on the moon of Kareth 9? Ethan blinked. "That was years ago," he said. "I was part of a rescue unit." The Queen's breath caught. "Continue." "There was an ambush," Ethan said. "Ships destroyed. Everyone scattered. I was injured. I thought I was alone." His eyes narrowed slightly, memory returning. "Then I found a crash pod." The Queen closed her eyes. Inside her mind, the past came rushing back. Fire in the sky. Her ship torn apart. Her guards dead. She remembered crawling from the wreckage, bleeding, holding her child close. She had hidden her crown, hidden her power. To survive, she remembered footsteps. A human soldier. Not afraid. Not cruel. He had aimed his weapon at first, then lowered it. Ethan's voice pulled her back. There was someone inside, he continued. An alien woman. Hurt. And a child. The Queen opened her eyes. "You did not kill us," she said. "No," Ethan replied. "You were scared. Anyone could see that." The child squeezed his side, listening. "I stayed," Ethan said. "I shared my food. I kept watch. I fought off scavengers." The Queen's hands curled into fists. "You could have left," she said. "Yes," Ethan replied. "But I didn't." The room felt smaller. And then, the Queen asked. "Your people came," Ethan said. "Soldiers. Strong ones. I stepped back. They took you and the child." His voice lowered. "You looked at me before you left, like you wanted to say something." The Queen remembered that look. She had wanted to tell him everything. Who she was, what he had done, but the war demanded silence. "I erase all records of you," she whispered, "to protect the Empire, and my child." Ethan stared. "You knew who I was?" "Yes," the Queen said, "and I prayed you would never return." The child looked between them, confused. "Why?" she asked. "Is good." The Queen knelt again, brushing the child's hair. "Because truth can be dangerous," she said gently. The child shook her head. But he stayed. Those words echoed again. The queen stood and faced Ethan. You saved the future of this empire, she said, without knowing it. Ethan shook his head. I just saved a child. That answer broke something inside her. At that moment, alarms sounded faintly in the distance. One of the guards stiffened. The council will not accept this, he warned. They will demand judgment. I know, the queen replied. She looked down at her child, then back at Ethan. Human, she said, voice steady now. Your presence changes everything. Ethan felt a chill. That doesn't sound good. The queen allowed a small, sad smile. For you, she said, it may be deadly. The doors to the hall began to vibrate as voices rose outside. The council was coming. The queen straightened, her crown glowing faintly. Stand beside me, she ordered Ethan. Why? He asked. Because once they enter, she said, there will be no turning back. The child tightened her grip on his hand. I won't let them take you, she whispered. Ethan looked at her, then at the queen. The storm had begun, and the empire was about to be tested. The great doors of the hall opened with a loud echo. One by one, the High Council of Jacoran entered. They were tall, ancient beings, wearing long dark robes marked with glowing symbols. Each step they took felt heavy, like the weight of centuries. Their eyes fixed immediately on the human. Ethan, the child, was still holding his hand. That single sight made the council pause. This is unacceptable, one of them hissed. The princess is touching a human. The queen stood tall at the center of the hall, her expression calm but cold. Watch your words, she said. You stand in my presence. A council elder stepped forward. Your Majesty, he said slowly, this human is a danger. He has crossed forbidden space. Worse, he has confused the princess. The child looked up, angry. I am not confused, she said. He stayed. A ripple of shock passed through the council. Children of royalty rarely spoke in court. And what do you mean by that? Another elder demanded. Before the queen could stop her, the child spoke. When the sky was burning, she said, her voice small but clear, everyone ran. He did not. Silence followed. Ethan felt his throat tighten. She remembers things from infancy, one council member whispered. The queen raised a hand. Enough. She turned to Ethan. Human, do you deny these claims? Ethan shook his head. No. Gasps filled the room. You admit contact with the royal bloodline, an elder growled. I admit I protected a child, Ethan said. I didn't know who she was. The council erupted. Lies. Humans deceive. He seeks power. The queen's voice cut through them like steel. Silence. The whole stilled. Human Ethan, the queen said, why did you return to this system? Ethan answered honestly. I was hired as a guide. I did not know this was royal space. A council member leaned forward. Convenient ignorance. Ethan met his gaze. I could have sold the story, he said. I didn't. I could have asked for reward. I didn't. That made several elders hesitate. But you came back, another said. Fatal manipulation. The queen watched carefully. One elder raised his staff. This cannot continue, he declared. The presence of a human threatens our stability. I call for immediate execution. The word struck like lightning. The child cried out, No! She stepped in front of Ethan, spreading her arms. You will not hurt him, she shouted. Guards moved instantly. Ethan dropped to one knee. Please, he said calmly, do not punish the child. If someone must answer, let it be me. The queen's eyes widened. You would accept death, she asked. If it keeps her safe, Ethan replied. The council fell quiet again. No human had ever said such a thing before them. One elder sneered. Such words are easy. Then test me, Ethan said. The queen turned sharply. What test? The elder smiled cruelly. The trial of the void, he said. A challenge no human has survived. The guard stiffened. That trial is ancient, another elder said. Deadly. Exactly, the first replied. If he lives, perhaps fate favors him. If not, the problem ends. The queen looked at Ethan. This is a death sentence, she said quietly. Ethan glanced at the child. She was trembling but brave. I won't leave you, she whispered. Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder. Listen to me, he said softly. No matter what happens, remember this. She looked up at him. You are strong, and you are loved. The queen turned away, her jaw tight. So be it, she said at last. The trial will proceed. A low hum filled the hall as ancient mechanisms activated. The council smiled. The human will break, one whispered. Ethan stood and faced them. Maybe he would die, but he would not beg, and that alone had already shaken the court. The chamber of the trial was older than the palace itself. Massive stone walls circled the space, carved with symbols from a forgotten age. The air felt heavy, as if it remembered every life lost inside. Dim red light glowed from deep cracks in the floor. This was the trial of the void. No human had ever stood here before. Ethan was led to the center of the chamber. His hands were free, but that did not comfort him. Around him, the High Council watched from high platforms. Their eyes were cold, patient. The queen stood apart from them. She did not sit. The child stood beside her, holding the edge of her robe tightly. State the rules, the queen commanded. An elder stepped forward. The subject must cross the void path, he said. No weapons, no assistance. Failure means death. A deep rumble echoed. From the floor, a narrow path of dark crystal rose. On both sides of it, there was nothing but endless blackness. Not empty space, something worse. A living void that swallowed light. Ethan looked down. The path was thin, cracked, unstable. He took a slow breath. Begin, the elder said. The first step was easy. The second was not. As soon as Ethan stepped forward, the air changed. Whispers filled his ears. Not loud, but constant. Voices speaking in many languages. You are weak. You do not belong. You will fail. Ethan clenched his jaw and kept walking. The void reacted. Shadows rose from below, forming shapes, creatures made of darkness. They reached for him, trying to pull him off the path. Gasps rose from the council. No human mind survives the whispers, one whispered. The child covered her mouth, terrified. Dad, she whispered. The queen's hands tightened. Ethan stopped, not because he was afraid, but because he was thinking. He remembered the battlefield, the burning sky, the child crying. He had not been strong then. He had been tired, hurt, but he stayed. Ethan knelt on the path. The council laughed. He breaks already, one said. Ethan closed his eyes. The whispers grew louder. You are nothing. Ethan spoke quietly. I know. The whispers hesitated. I am not a hero, he continued. I am not special. I am just human. The shadows trembled. But I stay, he said, even when I am afraid. The void screamed. The path stabilized. The queen's eyes widened. That should not be possible, an elder hissed. Ethan stood and walked again. The creatures lunged, but stopped short, unable to touch him. Step by step, he moved forward. Halfway across, the path cracked violently. Ethan slipped. The child screamed, Dad! Ethan grabbed the edge with one hand, hanging over endless darkness. The void pulled at him, stronger now. Let go, the whispers begged. Rest! Ethan gritted his teeth. He thought of the child's hug, the word she used. Dad! With a roar of effort, he pulled himself back onto the path. The council fell silent. The queen took a step forward without realizing it. The final stretch of the path glowed faintly. Ethan walked. The void tried one last time. It showed him a vision. Himself dying. The child crying alone. The queen turning away. Ethan stopped. For the first time, fear hit him fully. If he failed, she would suffer. No, he said firmly. I will not leave her. He took the final step. The void collapsed inward, screaming as a path solidified beneath him. A loud bell rang through the chamber. The trial is complete, an ancient voice declared. Ethan stood on the far platform, breathing hard but alive. The council was stunned. That was impossible, one whispered. The queen closed her eyes briefly. Relief washed over her. The child ran to the edge of the platform. He did it, she cried. I told you. The queen raised her head and faced the council. The trial is finished, she said. The human lives. But the elders' faces were dark. This changes nothing, one said quietly. Survival does not grant belonging. The queen's gaze sharpened. Then you underestimate what just happened, she replied. Ethan looked back at the void. He had not conquered it. He had endured it. And that was something the Empire did not yet understand. The trial chamber slowly powered down. The dark light faded. The whispers of the void vanished, leaving behind a deep, uneasy silence. Ethan stood at the far platform, breathing hard. His legs felt weak, but he remained standing. He did not raise his hands in victory. He did not smile. He simply waited. The High Council watched him with cold eyes. He survived, one elder said, but survival does not make him worthy. Another nodded. The law is clear. Humans do not belong in matters of royal blood. The queen stepped forward. The law has changed before, she said calmly. Murmurs spread through the chamber. The child suddenly broke free from the queen's side and ran toward Ethan again. Guards moved to stop her. Let her pass, the queen commanded. The child reached Ethan and hugged him tightly. You didn't leave, she said softly. Ethan rested a hand on her back. I told you I wouldn't, he replied. One elder struck his staff against the floor. This is manipulation, he shouted. The child is influenced. The child turned, angry. I am not a tool, she said. I remember. The council froze. Remember what? An elder asked. The child took a deep breath. Her voice was small, but steady. When the ship fell, she said, it was dark. Mother was hurt. I was scared. The queen's heart tightened. He carried me, the child continued. He sang to me so I would not cry. Ethan's eyes widened. He had not remembered that. He shared his water, she said. He stood between us and the monsters. The chamber was silent. You were very little, an elder said sharply. Memories fade. The child shook her head. Not that one. She pointed at Ethan. He stayed when everyone else ran. The same words again. The queen felt something shift inside her chest. The child turned to the council. You call him weak, she said, but he was strong for me. No one spoke. The queen moved forward, standing beside her child. My daughter speaks truth, she said. I confirm the records myself. Gasps spread. You hid this, an elder demanded. I protected it, the queen replied, because the empire was not ready. The elder's eyes narrowed. And now? Now the empire must listen, the queen said. Ethan stepped back slightly. Your Majesty, he said, I never wanted this. I don't need titles. I don't want power. The queen looked at him. What do you want? She asked. Ethan glanced down at the child. I want her safe, he said. That's all. The council whispered among themselves. This human does not bargain, one muttered. He does not demand reward, another said. That made them uneasy. One elder stepped forward. If he stays, he said, the people will question our strength. The queen's eyes hardened. Then let them, she said. Strength is not fair. The child squeezed Ethan's hand. You are family, she said simply. The word echoed through the chamber. Family. The queen closed her eyes for a moment. Then she spoke. By my authority, she declared, this human will remain under royal protection. Outrage exploded. You cannot. This breaks tradition. The council must vote. The queen raised her hand. There will be a vote, she said. But hear this first. She turned to Ethan. You stood before the void and did not break, she said. Not for yourself, for my child. She faced the council again. That is the kind of strength this empire needs. Silence followed. Finally, the eldest council member spoke. The people will resist, he warned. Some will rebel. The queen nodded. I know. She placed a hand on her child's shoulder. But I will not erase the truth again. Ethan felt a chill. He had walked into a palace as a nobody. Now, the fate of an empire rested on his presence. The council withdrew to decide. The doors closed behind them. Only the queen, the child, and Ethan remained. The child looked up at him and smiled. I told you they would listen, she said. Ethan managed a small smile. I'm not so sure, he replied. The queen looked at both of them. Whatever they decide, she said quietly, nothing will ever be the same. And deep in the palace, something ancient had begun to crack. The council chamber doors remained closed for a long time. Ethan stood near one of the crystal pillars, the child seated beside him. She leaned against his side, calm now, as if the danger had passed. But Ethan knew it had not. The queen stood at the center of the hall, her posture straight, her face unreadable. She did not pace. She did not speak. She waited. At last, the doors opened. The High Council returned. Their faces were tight. Some looked angry, others thoughtful. A few looked afraid. The eldest elder stepped forward. The council has reached a decision, he announced. The queen lifted her chin. Speak. The elder looked directly at Ethan. The human may live, he said, but he must leave the capital. He will never again approach the royal family. The child gasped. No, she cried, jumping to her feet. You can't take him away. She ran to the queen, clutching her robe. The queen closed her eyes. This was the answer she had expected. Mother, the child begged. Please. The queen opened her eyes and looked at Ethan. Is this acceptable to you? She asked quietly. Ethan felt his chest tighten. If he agreed, he would live. If he refused, he might die. He knelt before the queen. If leaving keeps her safe, he said, then yes. The child shook her head violently. No, that's not fair. The queen stared down at Ethan. That answer decided everything. She straightened slowly and turned to the council. No, she said. The single word echoed. The elders stiffened. You reject the council's ruling, one demanded. I do, the queen replied, as queen of Jacorin. Outrage burst forth. This is treason against tradition. You risk civil war. You choose a human over the empire. The queen raised her voice, calm but absolute. I choose the future. Silence fell. She stepped forward, her crown glowing brighter. This human saved my child when he owed us nothing, she said. He asked for no reward. He accepted death without complaint. She gestured toward Ethan. He embodies a strength we have forgotten. The eldest elder clenched his staff. And what will the people say? The queen turned toward the balcony overlooking the capital. Let them hear the truth, she said. With a wave of her hand, the palace broadcast activated. Across the city, screens lit up. Citizens saw the queen standing beside a human, and her child holding his hand. Gasps filled the streets. This is Ethan, the queen declared. He is under my protection. The council shouted in protest. By royal decree, the queen continued, he is recognized as family of the crown. The words struck like thunder. The child smiled, tears in her eyes. Dad, she whispered. Ethan froze. Your Majesty, he said urgently, this will make me a target. The queen nodded. Yes, she said. It will. She met his eyes. But you have already proven you will not run. The palace shook. Alarm sounded again, this time closer. A guard rushed in. Your Majesty, he said, there are uprisings in the lower sectors. The council looked triumphant. You see, an elder said, this is the cost. The queen did not flinch. Prepare defensive forces, she ordered. Protect the civilians first. She turned to Ethan. You have a choice, she said. You can still leave. Ethan looked at the child. She looked back at him, trusting. He stood tall. I stayed once, he said. I'll stay again. The queen nodded. Then she did something no one expected. She bowed her head slightly to Ethan, not as a ruler, but as a mother. In that moment, the empire changed. The council realized it too late. The queen had chosen. And nothing, human or alien, would turn her back now. The fighting did not last long. Some feared a great civil war. Others expected blood to flood the streets of the capital. But what followed was quieter and far more powerful. The queen acted first. Royal guards moved to protect the lower sectors. Medical ships were sent. Food lines were opened. The people saw something they had not seen in many cycles. A ruler who chose care over fear. Ethan stayed in the palace. Not in luxury. Not in command. He stayed near the child. She walked with him through the palace gardens, pointing at glowing plants and strange birds. She laughed easily now. The fear had faded from her eyes. She called him Dad without hesitation. At first, Ethan tried to correct her. "You don't have to call me that," he said gently. She looked confused. "But you stayed?" she replied. "That's what dads do." Ethan had no answer for that. The queen watched them from a distance. She had ruled an empire for many years. She had commanded fleets and ended wars. But this was new. The council remained divided. Some elders resigned in protest. Others stayed, slowly adapting. Public opinion shifted as stories spread. Not of a human taking power, but of a human who gave it away. Ethan refused titles. He refused land. He refused command. When offered reward, he said only one thing: "Let me help where I can." So he did. He worked with engineers to improve evacuation plans. He trained rescue teams. He shared human methods, simple ideas that saved lives. The people noticed. "He is not trying to rule us," they said. "He is not trying to change us. He is just, hey." That frightened some, but it inspired many. One evening, the queen summoned Ethan to the balcony overlooking the city. The stars burned bright above them. "You could still leave," she said quietly. "No one would stop you now." Ethan looked out at the lights below. "I don't think I want to," he replied. The queen nodded. "My daughter chose you," she said, "and I trust her judgment." They stood in silence for a moment. "You know," Ethan said carefully, "I'm not perfect." The queen smiled faintly. "Neither am I," she said. "That may be why this works." The child ran toward them, holding a small star-shaped crystal. "I made this," she said proudly, handing it to Ethan. "What is it?" he asked. "Our family symbol," she said, "so you don't forget." Ethan closed his hand around it. "As if I could," he said. Years passed. The child grew stronger, wiser. She learned both human and alien ways. She spoke of bridges, not walls. When she stood before the people for the first time, she did not speak of power. She spoke of choice. "I am here," she said, "because someone stayed." The galaxy listened. In distant systems, stories spread of a human who faced a void and did not break, of a queen who chose truth over tradition, of an empire that learned strength was not domination, but protection. Ethan never became king. He never wanted to be. But among the stars, he gained something greater. A name, not a title, not a rank, a place. And when history recorded the moment the empire changed, it did not mark a battle or a law. It marked a hug. The hug that froze a palace and warmed the galaxy.